What's up, guys? Jordan McAbee here, fantasyracingonline.com, and today we're going to talk about DFS strategy with Darlington and the Goodyear 400. How about that Kansas race, huh? And I was going to make a video about it, but decided not to. But you can't. I don't see how more people aren't pissed off about that whole tire fiasco. And I know I've gotten a lot of messages like, oh, it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. It does matter. That was complete race manipulation by NASCAR to get a final, another restart. And that should piss every NASCAR fan off. That it was pure race manipulation. It was nothing else but that. The tire is either a safety, and I'm going to go on for this for a little bit. I won't go too long. Skip ahead in the video if you don't want to hear it. But I have a big problem with people in the NASCAR media world not saying something about this. They're all just getting down on their knees for NASCAR here. And, oh, NASCAR made the right call because NASCAR said they made the right call. Bullshit. It was not the right call. That tire is either a safety hazard or it's not. You don't wait 30 laps to throw a damn caution once and I'm not going to say, so it did not help me, or it did not help or hurt me. It didn't hurt me in DFS. That's not why I'm complaining. It actually, I ended up better after all of that happening than I was before it. So that's not why I'm bitching. I'm bitching because we've seen this happen before with a loose tire on pit road, and they have never waited that long to call the caution before. That, not to mention the teams did not know whether a caution was coming or not. Teams like Chris Buescher and who else gambled there? Daniel Suarez, I think. Maybe, I don't know if it was Suarez. Maybe they were going to go longer. Maybe they were going to do a completely different strategy. They didn't know what the hell NASCAR was going to do with that tire and throw in the caution. And then the whole timing of it. Like, you wait 2 laps after Buescher pits, and then as soon as Daniel Suarez gets lapped, then you throw the caution. Like, what is that timing? What's that time? Like, I know I hate on Daniel Suarez a lot. You can say this is why I'm calling this out, but at the same time, it's a fan favorite, and it's another up-and-coming driver getting TV time. That conveniently, that's when they throw the damn caution. It doesn't sit right with me. It pisses me off. And that whole angle of purposely throwing the caution for Daniel Suarez to get TV time. I've pointed shit like this out before this season. If you have access to a NASCAR media website and you go to the image gallery after every single race, they have a picture of Bubba Wallace. At least one. Usually it's like 3 or 4. There's a blatant, the media is either told or, there has to be someone telling them to focus on Bubba Wallace. I like Bubba Wallace. I want to see him succeed. But pushing certain people and favoritizing certain people is not right at all. So, in the end, NASCAR got what it wanted. Got late restarts. Hamlin choked another race away. Because if they didn't call that caution, you know what happens? Kyle Larson runs away with it, and it's not even close, and fans complain. But you know what happens when they get restarts? We get chaos. Why do you think the format of the All-Star race this year is what it is? They want restarts. They want the Austin Dillons winning at Texas last year. They want the Cole Custers winning at Kentucky last year, all with late restarts. That's what NASCAR wants. Okay, I'm done. We're getting into Darlington. Getting into Darlington. So this is going to be an interesting race. One, because it's during the day, and typically they run races at Darlington at night. Two, Darlington is just a very unique track. It's 1.36 miles in length, super abrasive, eats tires. No great comparisons. You can't really compare it to. Typically, in the past, I don't think I've ever even really brought up or put much weight into other racetracks when analyzing Darlington. And another curveball that they're throwing this week, and it's going to get a lot of attention by pretty much anybody, definitely in the media and anybody that you follow for fantasy purposes, is they're running the 750 horsepower package, which is typically for tracks of 1 mile or less and the road courses. Fastest cars this year with that package have been Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. has won two or three of those races, but, and we'll get to him later, he won those races because they ended at night. I don't think this Darlington race is going to end at night. But those 3 cars have been the fastest in this package this year. But how is that going to translate to Darlington, which is basically an intermediate track? It's not a mile track. Like you can't sit here and tell me you're going to take Phoenix and Richmond speeds and try to somehow compare them to how they're going to run at Darlington. That doesn't make sense in my brain. They're completely different tracks. As far as the tires this week, they are using... So NASCAR ran 3 races here at Darlington last year. They're using the same exact tire combination. This is also the same tire combination that was used at Homestead this year. So we'll look into that. Of course, William Byron won that race. Kurt Busch ended up with the best green flag speed. That's because I think he had an extra pit stop than everybody else. And, any high wear track, when you get more frequently fresh tires than everybody else, you're probably going to have a faster speed. But the typical guys you'd expect, Byron, Keselowski, Truex. Truex is up there. Again, Truex wasn't great in that race until it went to night. This is no longer just something to point out with Truex. They are not that great during the day. Same thing with Phoenix. They were not great till later in that race. Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, very good at Homestead until the sun went down. So noteworthy. He was also good at Atlanta this year. The other high wear racetrack, Atlanta, dominated by Larson. Logano, Harvick, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, rounding out the top 10 in green flag speed in that race. When we look at, so this is the 2020 high wear track data, just to look at, get an idea of who ran the best on high wear tracks last year. Pretty much who we expect: Hamlin, Elliott, Truex, Harvick, Bowman, top 5 in average running position. Then you got Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Eric Almirola, and Eric Jones was in the 20. He's one guy we'll definitely talk about here later. His track record here at Darlington and what to expect. Average finish-wise on the high wear tracks last year, Hamlin at 5.2 with the best. Harvick, Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Bowman. Fastest laps, which we're very interested in for DraftKings. Truex the highest at 176. Kevin Harvick, Alex Bowman third highest, and then Chase Elliott. So, as I said before, 750 horsepower package. How is that going to compare to what we're used to here at Darlington? Not to mention, again, this is a day race. We usually run Darlington at night. So 2016 to 2018, they ran a low downforce package here at Darlington, which is probably the most comparable. I'd say it's more comparable than 2019, 2020. To the 750 horsepower package that they're running this year. Obviously, there's going to be driver changes and stuff from those years, guys in different equipment, guys that have progressed, guys that have regressed. But it's worth taking a look at 2016 to 2018 data, just to kind of get an idea of who was good under that high. I'm losing my high. Let me get this right. Low downforce package. Whew, it's late. Let's go average running position. Kevin Harvick, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr. See, it didn't change much. And this is my thing. I don't. This week, a lot of people are going to make a big deal of this package. They're going to hopefully not. I don't. It seems like every time we get one of these scenarios where something seems like a big deal, it ends up not being a big deal, and it ends up being overanalyzed. I'm trying not to overthink it this year or this weekend with Darlington. I could be completely wrong. Maybe it is going to make a bigger difference than I realize. I just don't see it happening. I'm not seeing super crazy big differences when looking at the data between, these different packages and all the different comparisons. I'm seeing the same people running well under both. We know who runs well at Darlington. Now it's just figuring out who's going to run best this week. I just don't think it should be completely overly analyzed. And like I said, I could be completely wrong. But average running position: Harvick, Larson, Truex, Hamlin, Keselowski. Fastest laps: Larson, Truex, both over 100. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Keselowski. And then laps led: Kyle Larson was so good here. I mean, he was great here in Ganassi equipment. And you know the rule of thumb this year: if Kyle Larson was good in Ganassi equipment, he's going to be great in Hendrick equipment. He was great here in Ganassi equipment. We could very well see another Atlanta. Average finish-wise, over those 3 years, Harvick and Hamlin the best at 5.0, and then Eric Jones 6.5. Kyle Larson 6.7, as well as Truex and Kyle Busch. Now, last year, 2020, we had 3 Darlington races. It was the first one back in May. That was ran during the day, that first Darlington race last year, and then they quickly turned around and they did the invert field for the midweek. It was a Wednesday race, I believe. Shorter race. And then the Southern 500 in September, which was the normal length. That's another thing to consider this weekend. 293 laps scheduled for, I believe that's right. Let me double check that. 400 miles, 293 laps. So typically it's 367 laps here. So just a little bit shorter race, 100 miles less than the typical Southern 500 that we have here. But looking at 2019 and 2020, Darlington data, Kyle Larson, he only had 1 start, but average finish at 2.0. Kevin Harvick, average finish 2.3. Eric Jones, 4.5. They got Kurt Busch, Keselowski, Kyle Busch, and Logano. Average running position, again, Larson only 1 start, but best average running position at 4.3. Got Harvick, Hamlin, Bowman, Eric Jones, Chase Elliott, Clint Boyer. Clint Boyer ran pretty well here in those years. Green flag speed, something to consider. Harvick, Truex, Alex Bowman, Eric Jones, Kurt Busch. And then fastest laps: Truex, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Bowman, Elliott, all 85 or more. Truex leading the way with 139. Larson in his 1 start had 40 fastest laps. This weekend we'll go ahead and look at the let's look at betting odds quick. This is as of Wednesday morning. So Larson, the heavy favorite according to Vegas at 4.5 to 1. I think that's down to 4 to 1 by now. Hamlin at 6 to 1, Harvick 7 to 1, Truex 7.5 to 1. Kyle Busch, Keselowski, Elliott, Logano, all in there. And then pretty much, I mean, the rest of it's pretty standard, the typical order that we see for most race weekends. Starting lineup. So Keselowski last week had a very fast, like one of his first laps was super fast. So even though Kyle Busch won, he's not starting on the pole this week. We got Keselowski and Harvick on the front row. Then Kyle Busch and his teammate Martin Truex Jr. And next row, William Byron, Chase Elliott, and then Hamlin, DiBenedetto, Austin Dillon, and Tyler Reddick rounding out the top 10. Not really too many big names starting further back as far as place differential goes. Kyle Larson starts 14th, Kurt Busch 17th, Alex Bowman 19th. No like super big names, starting 28th or whatever. Eric Almirola, and then Eric Jones. Again, we'll get to him and what to expect and what I'm going to expect. Algorithm predicted the finishing order. If you followed me on Twitter, I mentioned on Monday my algorithm loved Denny Hamlin. I mean, a full 4 points in the power index over Kevin Harvick. So, and I mentioned this in the article about Kevin Harvick. When you have a track like Darlington, there's just not a lot of great comps, so it tends to weigh the Darlington data a little heavier, which is one of the reasons why Harvick is ranked so high this week. I don't think he's going to have the second best car, but it's hard to go against his track record here at Darlington. Plus, I keep flashing back to that Atlanta race. His car actually looked really, really good in the first opening laps before he had that tire issue. We got to think that Stuart Haas has progressed a little bit speed-wise. Now that we're at race 12, I've mentioned this before. This is around the time when we start seeing that shift in speed. We start seeing some teams catch up. We start seeing some teams fall back down to earth. Could this finally be the week that Kevin Harvick gets back on and dominates a race? My algorithm thinks so. Second overall. We'll just have to wait and see. But super close here, second through fourth, between Harvick, Keselowski, and Larson, all within a half a point, basically. The Truex at fifth, Kyle Busch 6th, Chase Elliott 7th, Logano 8th, Byron and Kurt Busch rounding out the top 10. Let's go. So DraftKings projections, super Kyle Larson, average projected fantasy points for Kyle Larson and DraftKings at 89.5. Then we got Hamlin, Truex there, kind of about the same range, right around 60 points. Keselowski, our pole sitter, 55. Then Alex Bowman, who starts 19th. Great place differential play at 50, along with Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, right in that range. Joey Logano, Chase Elliott getting there, and then Kurt Busch, William Byron. By the way, William Byron has the Jordan jinx this week. I tweeted it out the other day. But William Byron, Jordan jinx, I want to see him win this race. I think he has the car to lead a bit. We say that every week, and he rarely does. But Hendrick was very strong here in the day race last year. I expect to see that again this weekend. And Byron, with the news about his mom, it'd be awesome to see him win this race. But again, he's going to have to overcome the Jordan jinx, which has a very good record of ruining people's drivers' race days this year. Top ceilings got Larson, just a massive ceiling of 125.35. Then Truex, Hamlin, Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, William Byron again. Kevin Harvick, that ceiling's, I think that's a little low, but it's, like I said, we just haven't seen that domination from him at all this year. Including laps or fastest laps and laps led. FanDuel, similar projections. Larson the highest at 79.65. Then Truex and Hamlin right there at 70. Keselowski a little bit higher, 67 as well, with Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, who my projections and definitely loves their prices of 10.5 and 10.2. And then Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman, they bumped up his price this week to $11,000. And then Logano, and I mentioned this in the FanDuel article, that I think my projections are a little bit low on Logano. I think he has higher upside than that 64.7 projected points. And obviously a great price on him at $10,000. If he can get a top 5 finish, he's going to be in the optimal lineup for sure. So let's get into the drivers. So Kyle Larson, highest at on DraftKings, not the highest on FanDuel. I don't know what they're doing. But 11-4 on DraftKings, 13,000 on FanDuel. We just look at what he put up last week. 67 fastest laps, 132 laps led. Completely dominated Atlanta. The last high wear track that we visited, dominated Las Vegas. And then, even Homestead. He didn't have a great race, but he still finished fourth, 18 fastest laps. Again, you look at his Darlington numbers in his career, and it's hard to imagine this guy not just dominating this race again. 40 or more laps led in the last his last four starts here. Career average finished 6.7, 284 laps led in 2018, 124 laps led in 2017. With DraftKings, I think lineup construction is going to, and success is going to come down on what side of the Kyle Larson coin you're on. If he disappoints, I will give this to people that want to make a case against Kyle Larson this week, and that's he hasn't looked incredibly that great in the 750 horsepower package, but again, he's so good at Darlington. He's so good at high wear racetracks. He starts 14th, so he's got upside. Plus, he can go out and he can dominate this race. My projections, love him. You throw my projections to an optimizer, and Larson's going to be on 100% of the lineups that it spits out. That's how high I have him projected. Strategy-wise, I can see you going against him in DraftKings just to be contrarian, but in all likelihood, I'm going to go 100% Larson this week, and if it bites me, it bites me. Joey Logano starting 12th. He's 11,100 on DraftKings. He is 10,000 on FanDuel. I do not like him on DraftKings at all. I do like him on FanDuel. I like him for that price. The reason I don't like him on DraftKings is because there's no dominator upside. So you look at, he can definitely finish top six. Finished third and sixth in his last two starts. He's got top fives in here during that 2016 to 2018 time period. But just not, like I say it pretty much every week, we typically just don't get the dominator points out of Penske unless they start on the pole or more specifically fastest laps. We just don't really get them from Penske. Blaney's the exception sometimes, but Logano, Keselowski, typically we only get laps led from them, at least in big chunks. So in order for Logano to pay off that $11,100 price tag, he's going to need to get those dominator points, and I just don't see that happening this weekend. I don't think he gets it done on place, differential, and finish. Unless, Larson, Hamlin, and Truex all have problems, then obviously Logano could easily make it into some good lineups. Again, love him on FanDuel, though. Denny Hamlin, definitely like him. My algorithm likes him. He 3-time winner at Darlington, constant top 5 threat. I just don't love the dominator numbers from him. Again, it's kind of like a Logano situation. 54 fastest laps over the 4 races here last year. Don't love that. Did decent 2016 through 2018 at 74. So maybe if we see that happen again. But Hamlin, you pull up this year. Obviously, he was great at Richmond, great at the races with the 750 horsepower package. So can make a case. It's hard to fit in both Larson and Hamlin and put together a really solid lineup. I'll say that. But, Hamlin, definitely a very good play as well. I think he's, what is he, the second highest projected, basically. Yeah, he's second high. I mean, he's second highest projected in my projections for DraftKings, and he's third highest in FanDuel. Don't love the price on FanDuel. 14,000. I'm not sure he gets the dominator points for that to pay off, but could be wrong. But definitely in play on anywhere you play. Starting seventh, could win the race. There's place differential there, and there's dominator potential as well. Martin Truex Jr., I feel like a lot of people are going to be on him, and rightfully so. I mean, we've seen the last time we raced here, he probably should have won the race. That was the one where him and Chase Elliott took each other out in the final laps. Truex led 196 laps that race. Again, though, I do not like him during the day at all. If you go back to this May race, the first race here last season, you go back to that race, Truex was like 30th after 30 laps. He was garbage. They had to do some major adjustments on that car for him to finally rebound and finish sixth. You look at his driver rating, 89.4. That's not a sixth-place car. He got some well-timed cautions to not go a lap down and get stuck in that frenzy. But, I would like Truex a lot more if this was a night race. There's upside there. You can't. I'm not saying completely fade him. I'm just saying at 10-3, it's tough. I'm not sure. Truex puts up the points to get in the optimal starting fourth. My contrarian brain would say pivot to someone else off of Truex. Keselowski, the pole sitter, 10,000 on DraftKings. He is 12,500 on FanDuel. Don't really like him on FanDuel. I think he was the pole sitter here last year as well, wasn't he? Yeah. Pole sitter in the first race, led 80 laps. That's I think I have him projected to lead like 50 laps or something this time around. Right up there at 50 laps led for Keselowski. It's all going to come down to how much he leads. If we see another race like last week, this is kind of what I'm expecting from Keselowski again here this weekend. Like about, I don't know if he gets up to 70 laps led, but only 20 fastest laps. Then you really need him to finish top 5 in order to make that work. Can't have any mistakes. You look at the last 2 years of Darlington, Keselowski, 106 laps led, only 48 fastest laps. Larson almost beat him in one race. 2016 and 2018, 70 fastest laps over 3 races. I'm concerned about he's definitely going to need those fastest laps in order to make that $10,000 salary work. And on DraftKings, like I said, I don't like the price on FanDuel, 12.5. I think that's a little too high. I'd rather go, someone like Chase Elliott and avoid that negative place differential. And probably the same with DraftKings. It all depends on what how long you think he can lead early. And you go back to Phoenix. If we're looking at the 750 horsepower package, Phoenix, he started on the pole and he got passed early by Denny Hamlin. And yeah, I think we're back after the pole sitter. Keselowski did very well last week at Kansas. I think we're back to probably going someone else on that route, especially when you got Keselowski, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., and William Byron all starting top 5. Keselowski could lead 12 laps and start falling back. So I think he definitely has top 5 finishing potential. It's just going to come down to how much he dominates. And and how much risk you want to take with the pole sitter. Kyle Busch, so I wrote up Kyle Busch last week, so it was nice to see him win and perform so well. It's nice when you see those little trends of, so we saw Kyle Busch get fastest laps at Kansas last year in both races, so that's what kind of got me onto him last week. The reason I'm saying that is I'm 67 fastest laps over the last 4 races of Darlington, 32 fastest laps over the 3 races at Darlington in 2016, 2018. Again, he could go out and lead a bunch of laps. It's Kyle Busch, but there's nothing with him starting third. It's hard to like him, especially when he's not putting up crazy fastest laps this year. He worked out well last week because he was priced in the mid 8s. I don't see it working out in 9,800. So I like going underweight on Kyle Busch this week. Again, another one of those guys I could definitely see finishing top 5, but does he have the dominating potential? My projections love him on FanDuel, and rightfully so. He's 10,200 over there. Great price on him. I could definitely see playing. I think Kyle Busch is in my optimal for FanDuel. So there's that. But yeah, Kevin Harvick again, starting second. Do we see him get back to the levels that we're used to? He had 2 fastest laps at Homestead. Don't like that. He had 12 fastest laps at Atlanta, where he was absolutely dominant, the last 5-10 years. It's hard to look at these numbers. They're even running better here lately, and he's still not putting up fastest laps, and that is concerning. I will say this week I like Harvick a little bit more than I normally do, but I'm still by no means going heavy on him. I'm not going back to I'll say this. If I lose in DFS this week due to Kevin Harvick dominating, then so be it. I'm still going underweight on him until he can show me one race of back to his normal self. I'm going to continue going under on him and rolling those dice. I do, again, my projections really like him on FanDuel starting or at 10,500 over on FanDuel. Again, we don't have the fastest laps on FanDuel, so you're really just looking at finish position and maybe some laps led. And Kevin Harvick starting second, he should finish top 5. He's really good here at Darlington. Won 2 of the 3 races here last year, fourth or better in the last 5. Third most, this is 2016 through 2018, third most fastest laps in those years, and second most fastest laps over the last 2 years. My projections are decent on Harvick. My gut says just go under on him. But could he be a pivot off of the next guy on this list, Alex Bowman, who starts 19th? Possibly. So Alex Bowman's at 9,400 on DraftKings. He is 11,000 on FanDuel. I hate that price for him on FanDuel because this guy has been a constant disappointment except for like 3 races this year. Last 5 races, he's finished 18th, 38th. He had that win at Richmond and then 34th, 22nd. Just constant disappointment. And I love Alex Bowman. He's won me a lot of money in DFS. He won me a qualifying seat at Atlanta. But just the consistency is not there. Now, that's the bad part. The good part is Hendrick overall and Alex Bowman were really freaking good here at Darlington last year. Tied for the 4th most fastest laps Bowman was with only 42 laps led. So that's something you love to see. Average running position over the last 2 years at Darlington, 4th best at 8.3 for Bowman. His like 2016, 2018, you might as well not even look at these. I forget what car he was in. Was he in the? He probably 2018. He was probably in the 88, wasn't he? Yeah, first year in the 88. Second and sixth last year. Top 8 in all 6 stages. You gotta love that starting position, especially on DraftKings. And if he can get those dominator points, definitely could end up in the optimal this week. I think he's in my optimal lineup as far as my projections go, which is a little scary, but 14 fastest laps in Atlanta, finished third, finished ninth at Homestead. Definite upside for Alex Bowman. He doesn't really even have to get those dominator points. As long as he finishes top 5 with that 19th place starting spot, he's going to be in a good position on DraftKings and in FanDuel for that matter. Again, I just don't love that price on him on FanDuel, but if it allows you to pivot off of Kevin Harvick, you can make it work. Next up, Chase Elliott. Starting 6th, 9,200 on DraftKings. I'm really interested to see where his ownership ends up. He's 12,000 on FanDuel. Don't love him on FanDuel. I don't think he has a lot of dominator upside as far as laps led go in this race. However, if you look at 2019 and 2020, he's right there with Alex Bowman in fastest laps. Chase probably, I think he wrecked twice here at Darlington last year while leading and or running top 5. Finished 4th. Yeah, this is the Southern 500s when him and Truex wrecked leading. Chase led 114 laps in that race, and then he wrecked. I forget what happened in that second Darlington race, but finished 4th in the day race. Very strong there for Elliott. Again, he's one of those guys. He's like Harvick. We just haven't seen him put up any numbers close to what we're expecting. Is this finally the week that it happens? I like him as a sneaky play. I'm concerned that his ownership's going to be sky high, starting or being priced at 9,200 on DraftKings. I would think that with Kevin Harvick and Alex Bowman right there, Harvick's record here and Bowman's place differential, that's going to take away the ownership of Chase Elliott. But I could be wrong. And then we got Ryan Blaney right underneath Elliott on DraftKings at 9,000. So he's starting 16th. I wrote up Chase Elliott as a tournament play this week. Maybe he'll be more owned than I think, but I think it's going to be a relatively low-owned week for Chase, at least from his standards. He always gets the popular driver bump in ownership. Typically, I think his lowest this year is he's one of the higher-owned drivers on average in DraftKings for the season. Getting into Ryan Blaney, he starts 16th. He's 9,000 on DraftKings. He is 9,500 on FanDuel. I see the upside here. I hate his track record at Darlington. I already bet on Christopher Bell over Ryan Blaney. This is reminding me of Richmond. Blaney, I can't explain it, why he's not good here at all. Average finish of 20.4. Positive note, 2 of his best finishes here came during 2016 and 2018. At this price, I think you have to have exposure to him in DraftKings because of the place differential potential. At 9,000, if he pulls off a top 5, he's obviously going to put up a great score for his price. He won at Atlanta, which is the last high wear track that we visited. I forget what happened to him at. Didn't he get ran into by Chastain or something at Homestead? But, yeah. Track record, I don't like with Blaney, but I like if he's if he's only in the mid-teens, ownership-wise, I like being overweight on him. Believe it or not, even though I'm betting against him with Bell. But yeah, you got to think eventually Blaney's just going to get a good finish here at Darlington. But like I said, we've been saying that about Richmond for years, and still hasn't happened. So 14 fastest laps over the last 4 races here for Blaney. That's the same number as Chris Buescher, just for reference, and less than Bubba Wallace. So just kind of tells you what kind of numbers Blaney is putting up. It's not like he's having bad luck here. So yeah, if I'm just making like one lineup, there's zero chance that I'm putting Blaney on it. My projections don't like Blaney at all. William Byron, like I said, he's jinxed this week. Jordan Jinx, 8,800 on DraftKings. He is 11,500 on FanDuel. Very interesting pricing with Hendrick guys. Hendrick was very strong here at Darlington last year, especially in that in the first race, the actual day race. Like I said, this is a day race this time. Byron. So the first race, Johnson was leading coming to the end of stage 1. I think Byron was second. And then Johnson got loose underneath Buescher on the last lap of stage 1 and wrecked himself. And then soon after, so Byron then won the stage. And then soon after, Byron wrecked. But we saw what Byron could do in the next 2 races. He finished 12th on that Wednesday race, and then 5th in last year's Southern 500. You just got to love what Byron's doing every single week. I mean, look at these finishes: 9th, 2nd, 7th, 4th, 6th, 8th, 8th, 1st. At first was Homestead, again, using the exact same tire as they are this week at Darlington. Starting 5th, I don't like the price. I hate the 8,800, but if he gets Dominator points, there's potential there that he ends up optimal. Decent pivot there off of Christopher Bell or Kurt Busch. But in all likelihood, I don't see Byron being optimal this week. Maybe worth I like him a little bit better in FanDuel than I do DraftKings. Christopher Bell, he's in that 20 car that Eric Jones absolutely crushed here at Darlington each and every time. Whether or not, my problem with Christopher Bell is the high wear tracks seem to just give him issues. Just doesn't run very well. He finished 11th in this second race last year, but driver rating 69.2. I probably won't have much Bell in DFS wise. He is 9,000 in FanDuel. Easier to use him in FanDuel than DraftKings. Like I said, I probably won't have much of him in DraftKings. Kurt Busch is next up. 8,400 on DraftKings. He is 8,500 on FanDuel. Gotta love Kurt Busch, just based on track record alone. Third most fastest laps over the last 2 years at Darlington. He had the average running position of 9.4, average finish of 8.3. Always strong at Darlington, and there's no reason to think he won't be this weekend. Top 8 in 6 of the last 8 races here. Yes, he's been like Alex Bowman. He's disappointing every single week, but 8th at Homestead. He was running top 5 and with the leaders at Atlanta before he got wrecked by Denny Hamlin. With him starting 17th and having top 8 potential here, I think, Kurt Busch is definitely in play. My projections really like him, as do I. Definitely on FanDuel. FanDuel, I think I wrote him up as a cash play in FanDuel, actually. DraftKings, he's almost there as well. Really strong play on both sites. Eric Jones is the biggest question mark of the week. He's $8,200 on DraftKings. He is $7,300 on FanDuel, and he starts 26th. If he was in the same cars last year and priced like this, it would be Don't think about it. Plug him in every single lineup. He's not. He's not. He is in significantly worse equipment. You can't argue with the guy's track record. He's super good. He has a win here. Average finish of 5.2 over 6 races. It's just the equipment. Do you trust it? He's disappointed every week. 24th at Atlanta. 27th at Homestead. He had that surprise 10th at Las Vegas, but I don't know what the hell that was. We haven't seen anything out of Jones. You have to. Yeah, I think you have to have exposure to him on both sites, just because the upside's there with the place differential. But it's so hard for me to trust that equipment. If it was based on driver talent at Darlington alone, Eric Jones would be a very good play. I just don't. Let's look how Bubba did last year in this 43 car. Finished 16th in the shortened second race. Not great. Nothing to get excited about. I really don't trust that equipment. Eric Almirola starts 27th. He's 8,000 on DraftKings. He is 7,500 on FanDuel. Biggest concern with Stewart Haas is how those cars fire off so slow. Can't argue with Almirola's record here at Darlington. 17th or better in the last 5. 4 of those 5 were 14th or better. Obviously, if he repeats that this week, he's going to crush at 8,000 on DraftKings, and he's going to be great on FanDuel at 7,500. But there's so many weeks where he just sucks and disappoints. So it's tough. My biggest concern with Almirola and those Stewart Haas cars is they get off to such a slow start. You know, you look at the first quarter of the race, and it's like the teams come and just don't know how to set up a car, and then they're super slow. So you got like Briscoe, Almirola, and who am I missing? Briscoe, Almirola, and Custer. All super slow to start the race. That's going to hurt. When you're starting 27th at a track like Darlington, you can't be that slow. And, I mean, we have a competition caution at lap 30, but still, Almirola could easily be a lap down and not even be in the free pass position at that time. So definitely some concern there, but the upside is definitely there with Almirola. It's like Eric Jones. I think you kind of just play both of them evenly. I think Kurt Busch is the play in that price range, but you got to have the exposure to Jones and Almirola as well, starting 26th and 27th. Matt DiBenedetto's up next. He starts 8th. He's $7,800 on DraftKings. He is $8,200 on FanDuel. Don't really like him on either site. Yes, they're running well. Top 9 in the last 3 races for DiBenedetto. Top 13 in the last since Vegas, but even Vegas was 16th. He ended up 11th at Atlanta, but he's priced too high and he starts too high. $7,800 and starting 8th, you're going to need a top 5 finish, and just don't see it happening. DiBenedetto last year finished 14th, 9th, and 21st. Before that, he had an 8th place finish here. He's a major tournament play. You know, getting off this chalk of Kurt Busch, Eric Jones, Almirola, and Stenhouse right here. But if you're going to do that, I'd rather go like Austin Dillon. But maybe 1 or 2 lineups with DiBenedetto just to have that exposure. You know, if I'm doing 150 lineups, I'll probably do like 10 with DiBenedetto. You know, I'm not seeing it. My projections don't love it by any means. So yeah. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starts 28th. He's $7,600 on DraftKings. He is $5,500 on FanDuel. Definitely in play on FanDuel. And in play in DraftKings. I hate this price range generally with DraftKings. But with lineup builds this week, I think there's a ton of value in this, $7,000 to $8,000 price range on DraftKings. So Ricky Stenhouse Jr., you got to love how this team's performing this year. 13th at Homestead. He was 12th at Atlanta. Obviously, if he pulls that off again, he's going to put up a huge score for his price on DraftKings and FanDuel for that matter. Here at Darlington, Stenhouse, typically about a top 20 car, on a good day. On a great day, top 12. That's his best finish here. So I'd probably go underweight on Stenhouse in tournaments, but you could put him in like a double up lineup, I guess, for DraftKings. FanDuel, like I said, at 5,500, he's a great value play down there. If you want to go that route. Austin Dillon, again, he's very good here at Darlington, as much as I hate to say it. 2 top 5s in his last 6 starts. Average finish at 12th. Plus, with the way this team's running, 3 straight top 10s right now. Strong all year. 12th at Homestead. 6th at Atlanta. You're going to need another run like that out of $7,500 starting 9th. You're going to need a top 5 run out of Dillon. He's $7,800 on FanDuel. I like him a little bit better on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings. I just don't see the dominator upside. So it's worth exposure. I wouldn't go too crazy on Austin Dillon. But that's just me. I'm generally always underweight on Dillon, but he's definitely in play this week, I think. I'm going to have more than I typically do. So my typical with Austin Dillon is 0. So I'm going to have more than 0 with Austin Dillon this week. Tyler Reddick starts 10th, $7,400. You're going to hear a lot of people talking about Tyler Reddick this week. He's 8,000 on FanDuel, and you should understand the upside. It's going to be like 90 degrees at Darlington on Sunday. Track's going to be slick. He's going to run the high line. This plays right into his favor. We saw him finish 7th here last year, starting 10th. My projections really like Reddick. Top 8 in 4 of the last 5 races. He's 2nd at Homestead. It kind of concerns me. He only had 1 fastest lap there. Atlanta, he hit the wall early, rebounded for a 26th place finish. I'm just really concerned about dominator potential. I think you're going to need that with him starting 10th unless he finishes, top 5. But my projections have him at average finishing position of 11th, scoring 38 points, and he still ends up in my optimal lineup according to my projections. So something to consider. Probably the price, definitely in play on both sites. But like I said, a lot of people are going to be talking about Tyler Reddick this week. So if he pulls a Tyler Reddick and hits the wall, you can use that to your advantage and go underweight on him. But the upside is definitely there. Ryan Newman, we just need him to be Ryan Newman, and he's going to be fine. He is 7,200 on DraftKings and 6,000 on FanDuel. You got to love that price on FanDuel. Great price. Top 15 in all 3 races here last year. Newman this year, typically about a teens finisher. He was 13th at Atlanta, 7th at Homestead. I love Ryan Newman on both sites. I think he has great upside. My projections have him at 30.92. Definitely like Ryan Newman there. Cole Custer, don't love him. That's just because it's Cole Custer. I mean, he has a good race every once in a while. But finished 12th last September here. I think you need exposure. He's starting 24th. Get you off, that Reddick-Newman kind of chalk. I just don't see huge upside with Custer. He is 6,500 on FanDuel. Again, it's worth having exposure. Just I don't love it. Average running position 19.9 last year. Obviously has no dominator potential. But starting 24th could very well. This price range is just awful this week. These drivers, but you never know when they're going to surprise. Bubba Wallace is 7,000 on DraftKings. He is $5,800 on FanDuel. I actually kind of like Bubba Wallace this week. I like that he's in the a Gibbs car. Not great at this track, but I really like it. I never realized this. He's putting up, 2 or 3 fastest laps every race. If he does that again this week, and he finished 16th at Atlanta, I don't hate Bubba Wallace. Starts 23rd. If he just finally gets a good finish, gets his first top 15 of the year, could definitely be a play this week on both sites. Chase Briscoe, again, one of the Stewart Haas drivers. I don't see much upside here. 18th at Homestead, 23rd at Atlanta. He's probably going to finish about where he starts. He's going to be low owned. He's $5,000 on FanDuel. Don't hate that price at all. I like Chastain better than Briscoe, but it's just, he's about a 20th place car every single week. So I don't know. Until he shows me something, I'm not going to be too high on Briscoe. Daniel Suarez, his track record here is pretty bad, I believe. He has an 11th. 11th when he was with Stewart Haas. Absolute garbage last year with Gaunt Brothers, but this is actually decent numbers for that 96 car. I'd consider Suarez a tournament play. He was 17th at Atlanta, 15th at Homestead, $6,700. If he can pull off a top 12, that's a pretty, it's a decent day at 6,700. Suarez is 6,700 on FanDuel. I don't like him on FanDuel. Yeah, not a big fan on FanDuel for Suarez. Chris Buescher, you gotta think back to Homestead. He came out of nowhere, put up 39 fastest laps and 57 laps led. Really fell off once the sun came down, but still noteworthy. And then Atlanta, he finished 7th and had 10 fastest laps. So I think there's definite upside with Chris Buescher this week. You look at his track record here at Darlington, and last year he was not good here. 32nd, 23rd, and 26th, but the 4 races before that, top 17 in every single race. He starts 11th. It's super risky, but I think there's upside there with Chris Buescher if he can get fastest laps. And, at $6,500, definitely a tournament play. Wouldn't go super heavy on him, but I think Buescher's in play. Ross Chastain, 6,300. I actually really like Ross Chastain this week on DraftKings and FanDuel. Chastain, he's a teens driver every single race. If he can just maintain his 18th place starting position or move up a little bit, that's a great value for $6,300. And if it gets you off the chalk of Ryan Preece, or you could even combine, Chastain and Preece to get some of those higher price guys or stuff more of those higher price guys in your lineup, it might be worth it. So you look back at Homestead, Chastain finished 17th. He finished 14th at Atlanta. He actually does have Cup Series starts here at Darlington in absolute garbage equipment. 28th, and 29th. He was driving those premium Motorsports Inspire cars. It's actually respectable finishes for those cars. He's in the 42 now, which obviously Larson was always good in it. Here at Darlington, I love Ross Chastain this week as a tournament play and being overweight on him in both DraftKings and FanDuel. Michael McDowell, next up, he starts 13th. He's $6,100 on DraftKings. He is $6,200 on FanDuel. I want to like the upside, but it's hard. 19th at Atlanta, 6th. See, that 6th at Homestead is what's sticking with me. If he can somehow pull that off again, he's obviously going to be a great value here. But I would not go too crazy on Michael McDowell. You're really banking. He doesn't get fastest lap, so you're really banking on that finish. And here at Homestead or here at Darlington, McDowell 16th and 17th last year. I just don't think that gets it done in this price. I'd rather go Chastain and definitely rather go Priest. But McDowell, I think, is in play on both sites a little bit, just not too crazy. Ryan Priest, I'm going to have a ton of Ryan Priest this week. I'll be honest with you, especially in DraftKings. Probably not as much in FanDuel. He is $5,900 in DraftKings. He is $4,500 in FanDuel. Ryan Priest is actually pretty good at Darlington, or has been in his career. 4 starts. He had an engine issue here in this race last year. You take that out, and his worst finish here is 22nd. Go back to Homestead this year. He ran 21st, and at Atlanta 25th. My projections love Ryan Priest. I wrote him up as a cash play. Love the upside there. I think he can flirt with the top 20 this week. Corey LaJoie, God, that team still keeps having mechanical issues, and he was running pretty well at Kansas last week. He can get up to about 24th, I think, if all goes right. But how often does that happen? Especially this year with him. So LaJoie, I don't hate him as a pivot off of Priest. He finished 24th in the Go Fast car last year. Other than that, his record isn't good here. I like him as a pivot off of Priest, but don't love LaJoie by any means. He's 4,000 on FanDuel. I don't like him on FanDuel. Definitely don't see having to dig that deep on FanDuel. DraftKings, I think you're definitely going to have to pick, one of these guys down here in most lineups. Justin Haley, he's a 30th place car. That's what he is. 26th at Homestead, 30th at Atlanta. I'm not seeing much upside. He is 5,500 on DraftKings, 3,000 on FanDuel. Don't love him on either site unless, we get a bunch of wrecks and he moves up to 24th or whatever. But still, don't love him. Anthony Alfredo, I like him even less. I made a pitch last week for him at Kansas, and he actually didn't do too bad, finished 23rd. But, this track isn't a place where that's going to be kind to a guy like Anthony Alfredo. Hurts even worse that he starts 25th, so just not liking it at all. As far as the back marker cars, that's where we've got to now. Definitely 0% complete fade on FanDuel. DraftKings, I'm probably going to fade every single one of these guys. Darlington is not a race to take chances on these low dollar guys. They're not going to do very well. They're going to be well off the pace. It's not going to work out unless we get a wreck fest, which typically doesn't happen at Darlington. And even if there's a wreck fest, they're probably not going to get in the optimal lineup either. I don't hate JJ Yaley. If I was going to take a flyer on anyone, it'd be him. He always outperforms his car. He starts 34th. If he can finish 28th, probably still not worth it even at $4,800. But if I was forced to take one of these back markers, that's who it would be. Looking at the optimal lineup, Larson, Bowman, Kurt Busch, Reddick, Newman, Priest on DraftKings according to my projections. I think that's a safe cash play. No driver starting better than 10th. I definitely play that in cash for sure. You could also, if you didn't like Bowman and you wanted to go up and grab Kevin Harvick, you can do that, or jump down and grab Chase Elliott. You can do that. That could get you off the Priest chalk if you didn't want that, and then you could throw on Chastain. So you could go Larson, Elliott, Kurt Busch, Reddick, Newman, Chastain. I think this gives you a really good base. Again, Reddick I think is going to be pretty chalky this week. So if you didn't want to go that route, he just has the upside. You could go Bubba Wallace instead of him, and that gives you an extra 500 to go, Kevin Harvick in here or Alex Bowman. So Larson, Bowman, Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Newman, Ross Chastain. Again, lineup construction and top lineups is going to depend this week, I think, on what Kyle Larson does. Now, if you wanted to get, let's say you went Keselowski, Larson, Kurt Busch, I think you're going to have to throw Priest in there. And if you did a Chastain, you could get up and grab Almirola. I don't hate that at all. Or Stenhouse or Reddick. If you want to get out of this range, I think you're going to have to do like a Chastain Priest there at the bottom and then go from there. If you didn't want to do that, you wanted to go get that Ryan Blaney. Again, don't love it, but Larson, Keselowski, Blaney, Reddick, Chastain, Priest. Jump off of Reddick, grab Ryan Newman. You can then grab Chase Elliott. I like this lineup a lot. Kyle Larson, Keselowski, Elliott, Newman, Chastain, Priest. I think that, that's a solid base to work with for sure. Go down and grab Bubba Wallace. We talked about that could get you up to Alex Bowman. So Larson, Keselowski, Bowman, Bubba Wallace, Chastain, Priest. I really like how that build is coming together. I know my projections really like Reddick and they really like Ryan Newman, but the more I'm looking into it, the more I'm liking the Priest Chastain build, and then one of Newman, Reddick, or Bubba Wallace, or someone in that range to try to grab three of those top guys. In order to, so what if you did like a Hamlin, Truex, Keselowski, and of course it's $100 off. I don't like grabbing Briscoe there in that lineup. But do a Suarez, Hamlin, Truex, Keselowski, Suarez, Chastain, Priest. That's a little too risky for me with Suarez and Chastain in there. If you did throw on Alex Bowman in here, allows you to get Reddick. So you could do Hamlin, Truex, Bowman, Reddick, Chastain, Priest. Jump off of Bowman, grab Chase Elliott. Gives you $300 to work with. I'd probably just stay on Reddick, but you could go up and grab Stenhouse with that lineup. You also have to look at possibly doing like this. There's a lot of value here in this range. So what if you went Harvick, Bowman, Elliott? You could probably fit in Kurt Busch, hit Chastain, and of course it's going to be $100 less. And then like a Bubba Wallace. So Harvick, Bowman, Elliott, Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain. And then, you can always, if you don't want to go Chastain, go Priest. And then instead of Bubba, go Austin Dillon or Tyler Reddick or Ryan Newman. Don't hate that build if you think Kevin Harvick's going to dominate. Obviously, potential's there for Bowman and Elliott, but this is by no means guaranteed. My projections really love Kyle Larson, so it's going to be hard for me not to build lineups without him. Definitely see him as the dominator. It's who is likely to be that second dominator, because that's probably what we're going to see on Sunday. Is it going to be Keselowski from the pole, or is it going to be someone like Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick? That's going to be where you have to make your decisions with your DraftKings lineup, especially if you're going with that Larson build. Other than that, you can probably fit 3 potential dominators into your lineup and go from there. But with the way Larson's priced, that's kind of where we're at. So moving over to FanDuel, optimal lineup is Larson, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Eric Jones. Larson, Harvick, Kyle. What was it? Larson, Harvick, Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, Eric Jones. I don't love going Harvick and Kyle Busch, even though my projections do. I'd probably go Logano over Kyle Busch, and then instead of Eric Jones, go Tyler Reddick. So I'd probably go Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, Tyler Reddick. And then just start playing from there. Like I said, if you jump down and do like a Ross Chastain, gives you enough room to anybody at 5 that's decent? No. If you didn't want to go, I was trying to get Martin Truex Jr. on there, but that's difficult. You probably have to go off of Kurt Busch and go with, Reddick. Or if you want to get Hamlin on there, off of Reddick, go Austin Dillon or Eric Almirola. Someone in that price range. And then, Hamlin, Larson, Logano, Austin Dillon, Ross Chastain. So, yeah, I think I've talked long enough. Good luck this weekend. My own opinion is don't overthink it, but coming from me, that's kind of funny because I overthink a lot of times in DFS. So good luck. Race number 12 will be done on Sunday, which puts us a third of the way through this season already, which is crazy. Then we got Dover coming up next week. So good luck and see ya.